The first tale for today comes from Carefully6685 on the Today I Messed Up subreddit, and it states that watching the Maury program with my dad today was a mistake. The effects are being felt even though this happened a week ago. My father was working from home on this day when I was off. My father had walked into the room to drop off folded clothing, and I was watching the Maury program. We finished the program in the living room after he wanted to watch with me. They were discussing how the two parents and two kids all had large ears. The test resulted in the man's fatherlessness. My father examined my ears and saw that, in contrast to his, mine were disconnected. We most likely spent 3 hours watching the program. Later on, I discovered that all of my family members except for me had connected ears. My father began to gaze at me more, to be aloof, and to ignore my mother nearly entirely, if not out of disagreement. To put things in perspective, I am the middle kid and have straighter, darker hair than my relatives, so I do stand out a little in family photos, more like a gray sheep than a black one. Yesterday he lost it and demanded to perform an ancestry DNA test. He had only purchased 2 for the 2 of us. Since he has never sobbed in front of me, I immediately took the test. He pleaded with me not to tell my mother, promising to love me no matter what happened. My parents were absentee till the day I was born. I am also aware that my parents were reunited because of me, even though I was a surprise baby. Once more. The most startling thing is that my father is never emotional or even weeps. I'm in tears because I can see how afraid and sad he is. On the reverse of this one, Beaten adds, Dad must have had doubts the entire time. Don't allow the outcomes to alter your family. Dad is the man who raised you, even if he's not your biological father. Sincere Clamhack responds, well, it's not op, but if he's not your biological dad, then that changes the dynamics. Stephen stated, I've known this guy since 1965, and he only discovered 2 or 3 years ago that the man who raised him wasn't his real dad. This occurred subsequent to his father's passing score on a 23andMe style exam. His point of view was incredible. It didn't ruin the great bond he has with his father, while I'm sure it cleared up some unclear feelings. I met a person who had a similar situation, says EWR Boogie. There were a few possible explanations for why that may have happened, but when he investigated the man who appeared to be his father on the internet, he discovered that he had a position of authority at an organization where his mother worked. He concluded it was better to leave the specifics in the past. He got in touch with the man, whom he had always considered to be his father, to find out if there was any medical history he should be aware of. According to a thorough count, the notion that attached vs unattached earlobes is genetic, that is, that it is determined by a single gene rather than a complicated interaction of several factors, is a fallacy. It is impossible to reduce the complexity of earlobe genetics to something so basic. I apologize that you two are experiencing these problems, but it's true that an urban tale has agitated you both. To be honest, I've heard of urban legend before. Not that I stated it on a talk show or anything, but Op updates us a month later and apologizes profusely for keeping us waiting. Regardless of the outcome, he is my dad. After the test was sent, there was a great deal of stress in the home. My mother and younger brother had no idea why it wasn't deliberate. The previous 2 weeks have seen a decrease in tension and an improvement in the situation. The spirit is essentially returning. My father informed me that he didn't care about the findings and would only see them if I asked to see them. When we received the results. We've already waited this long, as I mentioned. Regardless matter the outcome, he promised to change. The problem is that when we took our ancestry test, my father and my elder brother were immediately shown. He visited on Monday. He questioned why I had used ancestry in secret. I just mentioned that I wanted to know how much of a minority I was. With a giggle, he turned to go. I don't know if my dad saw him or if he saw my dad on there. Neither did I see them nor hear them discuss it. Why ask, though? Who gives a damn now? One thing I will add, Opie wrote in a comment below, my parents were divorcing at the time, and I was the reason they got back together. Given my understanding of my father's worries, I honestly would have tested long ago. My parents have had a wide range of connections with other people. Thus, I can see why one of them might cheat while on break. Who cares? Though, who gives a damn who's linked to whom? Does anyone really care what happened? Nothing has changed or will change in my opinion. The typical response to the reply was, biggest plot twist. Your father has other kids. And some were thinking it was crazy that all of this occurred on the back of a TV show, some expressing their understanding of the father's perspective in this case. What about you, though? How do you interpret it? Please share your opinions with us in the comments section below. Let's go on to the next tale. Our second story comes from HappyPhilosophy977 on the Am I the Jerk Here subreddit, asking if it's okay for me to keep my commitment to my boyfriend's dog and not share my lotto winnings. How come? I, a 26-year-old woman, won around $50,000 in the lotto. My 29-year-old boyfriend and I used to joke around before I won about how, if I ever make it big, 3 of us would share it, him, myself, and his dog, Baxter. I adore my golden retriever, Baxter, but I've always assumed he's just a joke. But now that I've truly won, my boyfriend is genuinely requesting that I pay Baxter his fair part of the money. He insists I made a promise that Baxter should have $10,000 in a canine trust fund set aside for toys, future medical expenses, and other necessities. I told him that was absurd. Since he's a dog, Baxter doesn't require a trust fund. My partner is now accusing me of being self-centered and alleging that I broke my word. He claims that my broken promises and lack of commitment to our relationship are the real issues, not the dog. But really more than a dog? This is when things become strange. I did use some of the cash to get Baxter a really nice dog bed and some rather pricey goodies. However, my partner claims it is irrelevant because it was not included in the formal $10,000 that I was purportedly going to promise. Even mentioned hiring a lawyer to establish the dog trust fund in order to formalize the arrangement. I think I'm in the twilight period. Though I may have made a lighthearted promise, am I the bad guy for not giving a real dog a share of my lotto winnings, or is this whole thing simply ridiculous? Now, because you suggested to split the money 3 ways at the beginning, I'm assuming you were giving him some of it. Please don't tell me otherwise. 2/3 of your profits are going to him. After that stupid manipulation he tried to pull to get more money from you, I would not give anything to this motherfucker, declares Left Science. Tell him to pound sand with his dog, girl. I implore you. Baxter shouldn't be involved in this. Baxter is ignorant of the situation. All right, happy remarks. It's crazy to me that he believes this to be typical behavior. By the way, I'm not advocating giving Baxter the cash. It never occurred to me that I would have to stand up for myself in a relationship against a dog trust fund. I'm so mad at him right now that I'm considering ending our relationship. I didn't sign up to be a doggy bank, even if I like Baxter. Cinnamon Blue claims that notifying your lover you had won was a mistake on your part. Sincerely, I thought that telling each other the good news would be a wonderful moment for us. But it feels like I've opened a big bag of worms, OPI responds. Maybe I wouldn't be dealing with this crazy scenario if I had kept it to myself. I fear that I may never be able to trust him with important information again. Has anyone else ever experienced a strange encounter similar to this one? Not the asshole, Brave Tradition says. How long have you known this guy? This is really strange, and it also seems like he's trying to get money. As Dave Ramsey often says, money doesn't make a person better or worse, it merely brings their true self to light. It seems accurate to me. How is he going to be in the future? Huge red flag. I hope he states that we have been dating for 2 years and that, to be honest, I have never seen this side of him. He turned on the light the instant I won, and now he's behaving as though I owe his dog this enormous sum of money. It's not his money, after all. So why does he behave as though it's typical? Indeed, I find myself wondering, what would happen if we started discussing our future financial plans if he was already acting strangely around Baxter? Should I also create a rainy day fund for his goldfish? How the hell about it? Finally, from I Don't Understand Cute 92, who says, don't be an asshole, I'm going to take a risk and say that your partner considers his dog portion to be his share. Moreover, the $10,000 in veterinary expenses will probably be used for other purposes. They'll tell you it's for the canine. Was genuinely incensed that anybody would think that a dog would inherit what is effectively a trust fund, barring some sort of undocumented contract that the dog signed with his paw. After giving it some thought, I, a 26-year-old woman, eventually approached my 29-year-old partner about this ridiculous issue involving a dog trust fund, the AITA reports. I told him straight out that, even though I like Baxter, I find it absurd to give $10,000 to a dog and can't believe it's become such a big problem in our relationship. His response? He went all in. Even though it's obviously all about the money, he insisted on saying it's not about it. All that matters is the dum-da-dum-dum. And that the true issues here are trust and my broken commitments. He went so far as to say, how can he trust me to keep my word on bigger things if I can't even keep this promise about a dog? I reached a breaking point at that time. I told him that after 2 years of dating, I can't believe he's acting this way, and that this whole thing has raised a lot of red lights. I told him straight out that his priorities look so far out of line that we're ending our relationship. I can't fathom having to deal with more significant problems in the future if he's acting this irrationally about something this ridiculous. Rather than considering what I had said, he became combative and charged me with betraying his confidence. Although I'm shocked at how things have turned out, the way he's been acting makes me think that the split was inevitable. I ended a 2-year relationship over a dog trust fund. Am I the bad guy? Or is this really as crazy as it seems? Well, that's not the asshole that much is known, but how do you guys feel about this? Wow, such a blessing. Please share your opinions in the space provided below, and let's discuss another tale. Our next tale, Am I Overreacting?, is from the Am I Overreacting subreddit. Wife from Majornu 906 attending a friend's party in a skimpy swimsuit. It reads, my wife and I have been dating for 2 years, and things are generally good between us. That is quite the start, isn't it? She's worked hard to tone her physique and exudes confidence, so I can accept her desire to wear skimpy clothing. But the bikini she got was far more exposing when I saw it, more than any garment she has ever worn. Since I'm not attempting to manipulate her in any way, I always feel guilty yet choose to accept it. It's one of those thong-style, tighter-fitting bikinis. She lost weight, but it doesn't help. That means that if she bends over in the slightest, her entire ass is exposed. Not that it truly covers her actual butthole. She certainly stood out because no other woman at the gathering wore a bikini like that. When we were hanging out drinking, I asked her if she could put on a towel since I observed that a lot of males were becoming angry, and the heat began at that point. I didn't want to argue, so I let it go. Later, as we all entered the pool, I was among those who were well inebriated. I kept attempting to mend her too small bikini, but it started breaking apart on the string. Being in that situation was absolutely awful. After we arrived home, I became really irritated and said some things that angered her. She told me that I was insecure if I was scared, that someone might see her body, and that I had no control over what she wore. With the exception of one small issue, everything is flawless, so I'm not sure how to feel or what to do. It just easily makes me feel envious. Despite my efforts to remain uneasy about her appearance, I didn't want her to be almost nude in front of so many of her friends, as well as her spouses and lovers. Someone mentioned that Op needed to communicate clearly with his wife in order to get attention, and Op responded that we did. I expressed my feelings to her, but it seems that she is not understanding. She constantly telling me that I'm insecure and that I'm the only one with a problem. I don't really get that sense from it at all because she's not really the sort to want attention. I'm trying to understand this viewpoint, but it seemed so harsh, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. Perhaps the majority of the guys present were misinformed. Generally speaking, we're not too harsh on our issues, but I've never encountered anything like this. Some arguing that Op ought to honor his wife's bodily liberty. Op declares, I'm so proud of her, she is free to wear whatever she pleases. But I never imagined that I would be in that position. I felt horrible about the other guys snooping on her. I'm not sure why. I'm attempting to think in this manner, and I appreciate your feedback. She constantly flaunts herself to me, the whole time that we've been dating. She's never really gone over the line like this before, so I'm trying to figure out whether I'm being a dick, but I'm not sure. While I assume it was inadvertent, I also feel embarrassed about it. She should have listened to me. I warned her, and I was correct that the bikini would cause a wardrobe malfunction. I added that I didn't like that every guy in the room could see everything. She claims that her actions are insecure since she never intended for it to occur. The problem is, it's shocking since we have never experienced anything like this. It's not that I'm attempting to be insecure. That so many guys were able to gaze at her in that way is simply awful. I suppose that makes me feel envious. I didn't want to be that man. In particular, knowing that every male present is considering something. She has my respect. I'm aware that she is the owner of her body, but I've never experienced anything like that. I'm not sure how to feel or respond to this given it happened so suddenly. I just think that the drinking and the ignorance of the fact that a bikini was occasionally sliding down went too far. Though I'm not very concerned, I can't help but feel envious. It's a favorite joke among douchebags. I find it difficult to want to attend another party with these folks. The difficult aspect is that our friends make jokes and comments about it initially, even though I'm trying not to freak out. When everyone is smiling and having a wonderful time, it might be difficult, but I want to stop it all. The girls would keep making jokes about how you should simply take that stuff off right now. I attempt to yank her away and make things right. However, there was no practical fix. The Op then shares her updates. A few days ago, I commented on this site regarding a problem with my 2-year wife, and regrettably, we haven't been able to come to an agreement on it. She went to stay with her mother for 2 days after our fight that evening so we could both recover. We chatted about it when she got back, and she told me she just wanted to flaunt her hard work and was proud of her figure. Not for anyone else except herself specifically. Once more, I attempted to clarify why I didn't agree with her displaying our friends her body, but she won't stop blaming me of being bossy and insecure. She had included our friends in the fight, and they naturally agree with her, calling her out and stating the whole thing was a joke. They find it humorous, of course, as it hasn't happened to them. They all tell me to go on and forget about it, but I find that whole thing too embarrassing, and my wife's attitude about it doesn't help. On my initial post, a lot of people commented that she was mistaken, and even think about cutting her loose. I want her to know how I feel, even if I think it's rather cruel. The overreaction, with the danger of divorce over this, simply feel horrible about it. I have a lot of suspicions about this whole event, and thinking about it is driving me insane. Considering that she has pals from work there, I'm beginning to believe that she was attempting to show someone specific, but all I've heard from her about them is that nobody seems to be interested in them. However, my sincere kindness also begs me to trust her, since, as I mentioned, we have never had to deal with anything like. I have a strong suspicion that this relationship goes deeper than what we're currently witnessing. As you may recall, the op stated that after 2 years of dating, things are generally well between us. You know, things are amazing when you start a post like that. On this one, I have the impression that I will be like an old stick in the mud. I'll start by stating that I support body positivity and all of the wonderful things. However, I'm going to present myself as someone else at that party, and it will be quite unpleasant if someone shows their asshole there. I'm all for body acceptance, as I said, but please don't let me see your butthole. Beef Stew claims in the comments that none of us were there when this all occurred, but I would counter that it's not about what you say, but about how you say it. Judging by your account and some of your reactions, you could have came out as domineering. That being said, I'm assuming there are deeper issues here if you're willing to threaten divorce over a bikini, and good luck on sticking with it for more than 5 years. Says Garrett Barrett. I recognize your insecurity as a spouse. I also have a straight-up smoke show. Nevertheless, my wife is my dearest friend on earth, and I would sacrifice my life for her. We have similar beliefs, so if she wore anything I didn't approve of, it wouldn't happen. Instead, we would talk about it in private and gently voice our opinions. I would happily set my sentiments aside if it boosts her confidence. Is threatening to seek a divorce something you truly mean, or is it just a tactic to get what you want? It makes me cringe because it's so innocent. Yes, you're a man-child and you're overreacting. Awkward Fortune Cookie advises against threatening divorce until you are ready to take the plunge because, believe me, everyone noticed if her butthole was visible. According to Natural Goblin Yiddig, she most likely wasn't stooping down and extending her cheeks for everyone, therefore her butthole wasn't really visible. The butthole is buried in the cheek flesh if you have a lovely ass, as the op claims his wife has. How in the hell? Fuck my behind. Even so, isn't it caked up? And for the star to shine, it needs more than just bending over. To shine through, if you understand what I mean. Glow as brightly as a butthole. Dyer adds, but he refrained from threatening a divorce. He said that in a prior discussion, others had mentioned such, and he thought it was cruel. People must acquire reading skills. Her bikini is so little that it's actually tearing off and slipping off her body. Should he tell her that she looks great? To save her feelings, he should just pretend not to feel anything. It isn't a cooperative effort. It's not a beach with strangers, this is a pool party at a friend's house. It would be a rather strange decision in my social circles. Putting him down in the friend circle is naive and almost cruel. You don't invite others into your partnership to discuss problems with him. I must be a silly prude, says Blueberry, since I'm reading a lot of comments here. Not even near could I accomplish what the wife of Op did. I can't image going to a gathering where my goal is for anyone to see me in my undies in mixed company, much less my friends or colleagues. Today, a lot of people seem to think that being naked is not a big thing, but I would rather be warned before leaving if I encounter someone I know in the nude. Perhaps before being married, Op neglected to make sure he and his spouse were equally yoked in that regard. More power to her to show off her physique. If she doesn't give a damn about his views about modesty and he can't handle it, then it's over. He must determine whether he can live with someone who openly displays their body and might never stop. And on this one, the comments were all over the place, back and forth. Would it disturb you in any way? Not at all. Hell, you show up to these events with no regard for anything. Please share your opinions with us in the comments section below. I just want to say how much I appreciate you for coming today, participating in the tales, and giving of your time. Your love and support mean the world to me. It means the world to me that you are participating, so thank you very much for that. I shall thus thank you and see you in the next one. Hugs and best wishes.